Oh, if I could just fix a small part of this broken world. We are on the date of the anniversary of 9/11. It was 9 years ago that terrorists hijacked planes and drove them into United States monuments inside of New York City. Since then, our lives have been dramatically changed by those events. Some of those events have affected us personally, and even more of those events have affected our black community. Since 9/11, 9 years ago, we have had a dramatic change in the way security has been distributed in our community, the way policing has been distributed in our community, the way our people are harassed and stopped and questioned for just going to, sometimes just a simple thing as going to the store. We need to take a closer look at how out of control our government has gotten since 9/11. I talk about government on this show an awful lot, and I believe, and there's been books to this theory, that 9/11 was an orchestrated move because only such a catastrophic event can allow our politicians to go deep into the Constitution and eradicate our personal freedoms. That's what we're dealing with now. Everything that used to be a small misdemeanor of a crime is now a huge federal crime. Therein, the government can keep track of you, keep tabs of you, know your ins and your outs, know your credit score, know what you buy, know what you eat, know what movies you rent, know what you do on the computer. Believe me, everything that is said on phones, on computers, and every letter that you write is being recorded and stored in data for every single individual American, especially black Americans. Why I say especially black Americans is because going back to the theory of the few books that I have read on the subject about the controversy, and the conspiracy theorists is what they're called, that says that our government orchestrated and even allowed 9/11 to happen so they can take the civil liberties of private citizens. The private citizens, who is that? That's you and that's I. The people who pay the taxes, the people who do the voting, the people who go to work. In short, the people who make this country run. I'm not talking about the CEOs. I'm not talking about the people who own 4 or 5 yachts or 6 or 7 homes. I'm talking about your average Joe front porch working man and woman who gets up every morning and goes to work and pays their taxes, but are not getting anything back for the money that they're given to the government. And I say given. And I also say paying taxes. I find that to be very funny. It would seem more reasonable that if you were paying money for something, you would pay for services rendered. I've never seen things like the police preventing crimes. It would seem to me that every single time a crime has occurred, the last people on the scene are the people who we pay to prevent the crime. And we constantly accept this behavior amongst our children, that they can walk the street and be hassled by police officers or by detectives or by sheriffs, and when they're most of the time not doing anything but walking the street. Now, grant you, there are elements out there in our black community that need to be monitored, that need to be shut down, that need to be watched, okay? But they have let, going back to the 9/11 conspiracy, they allowed these young men who hijacked these planes to get pilot's license, to get training, to get classes, hour classes in the United States for learning how to fly these planes. And who do you think paid for these classes, for these trainings, and for all of these licenses that these young people got to fly these planes? Us, you and I, the private citizens. That money came from our taxes. Just like everything else that is corrupt come from our taxes. If you look on the side of the police car, it says we serve and protect. I engage you to ask yourself, when has the last time you've seen police department serve and protect? If there's one thing that's on the movies or on TV that is indicative and true of life, it is that when there's a crime, when there's an accident, when there's an incident, the last person on the scene is always the police, the law enforcement. But we pay for them to be on the scene prior to the incident. Now, they will allow certain things to happen while they let other things walk right by us. The airports now, since this 9/11 incident 9 years ago, the airports have been flooded with new security detail, new security tactics, new security companies. Now, which has just started maybe about a week or two ago, they give a full body scan of you at the airport. Now, they're doing that to Mama Joe and Papa Jenkins. But Habib can walk right through the security line and get right on the plane. It is astonishing how they're paying attention to the private citizens who don't have any malice intent. But the people who are willing to kill us for their own religious beliefs are allowed to walk around. They're allowed to open stores. They're allowed to open gas stations. They're allowed to get government loans. They're allowed to get government subsidies. They're allowed to walk around with expired visas, whereas they should have been sent home months or years ago, and they're not being checked on. But they will check on your license. But they will check on the insurance for your car. But they will check on to make sure that you have certain things that they call amenities to being a black or an American, period. I focus on black America because we are devastated by the laws that the government are issuing. And I truly believe, once again, that it is a planned situation. They want to control us. They are doing it by grabbing the minds, and I've said this before on our program, of our children. It is not for them to control our children or to raise our children, but it is for us to do that. Instead, when parents begin to have babies, parenting begin to be lazy, and you're lazying around and palling around with your children. All of these things, the healthcare, the school system, the policing, all of these things are a result of what happened 9 years ago. They weren't in perfect condition then, but it gave the government and the powers that be a reason to up the ante, to up the surveillance, to up everything so they can generate and raise more money for themselves. Everything that has been done today, everything that you don't like, everything that's making your life uncomfortable, it is a planned situation. Don't be fooled. Open your mind, open your heart, and think. Open your spirit so that the Lord can guide you to the right direction. Don't be just told anything. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Read more about this 9/11 conspiracy that people say that has happened to us. Most people are walking around in a daze and they don't realize what's going on in their own personal lives because all they see is what they're being told and they're accepting it. I'm telling you today, don't accept it. Ask questions. Ask questions. Ask questions. Or if I could fix just a small part of this broken world, it would be to educate more our people. We thank you. Continue to come back. Leave comments on this program. Next week, we'll get back to the regular subjects. But this 9/11 is very important. We must never forget the state of emergency that we are in, especially our black community, especially our black children, especially parenting. Thank you very much. Peace.